Begin tonight with the breaking news in the Flynn case with Trey Gowdy, a former House Oversight Committee chairman and now a Fox News contributor. Trey, good evening. Good to have you with us tonight.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
So you have spoken, and you and I have spoken quite a bit about Adam Schiff and his absolute confidence that there was absolutely collusion between the Trump campaign and Russians to throw the 2016 election or to impact the 2016 election. So he is not that happy about the revelations that have come forward in these documents, which I should point out you saw most of these documents a long time ago when you were privy to a lot of these that we were not. But so Adam Schiff says today that what happened today with Michael Flynn does not exonerate him, but it does incriminate Bill Barr, who he calls the worst politicalization of the Justice Department in its history. What would you say to Adam Schiff about all this tonight, Trey?
I would tell Adam to watch your show and go listen in particular to the Jim Comey interview where the head of the world's premier law enforcement agency is bragging about what he wanted to get away with. I would tell him to go look at Peter Strzok and all of those texts. If that's the FBI that Adam Schiff wants for this country, an FBI head that wants to see what he can get away with, that sent an agent to interview Michael Flynn because he wanted to. There was no criminal investigation. There was no counterintelligence investigation. It's just an arrogant head of the FBI full of hubris who wanted to send agents over to mess with Michael Flynn. Today was a great day for Bill Barr. It was a lousy day for Jim Comey.
So here's what Jim Comey, speaking of the former FBI director, tweeted today after this announcement. He says the DOJ has lost its way. But career people, please stay because America needs you. The country is hungry for honest, competent leadership. That was his response, sir. What do you say?
I hope he stays the hell in whatever woods he's in on his Twitter profile, Martha. I mean, the DOJ, I mean, look at his FBI. McCabe, Strzok, Comey, Baker, Page. I mean, which of those is our country suffering from not having in positions of power? We need a justice system that everyone has confidence in, whether it's a three-star general or a black jogger in Georgia. We need a justice system we have confidence in. Jim Comey, I got the title for his next book, How My Arrogance Ruined the Reputation of the World's Premier Law Enforcement Agency. That's your next title. It's long, but the book is long. But that's the next book he ought to write. Not one about honor and integrity, how his own arrogance and hubris wrecked the FBI.
All right. So with regard to Bill Priestap, who was the counterintelligence officer at the FBI or head of counterintelligence who wrote those notes about, do we want to prosecute him? Do we want to get him to lie? Do we want to get him fired? And then also Peter Strzok, who said, do not close Razor after they had found that there was no derogatory information, which would have led in most cases, I think, for the investigation to be dropped. So what happens to these individuals now if their comments were what prompted the dropping of these charges, or at least were part of it?
Well, I mean, in terms of accountability, I mean, I'm not a civil 1983 expert, but I think Michael Flynn is going to have a really tough time recouping everything that he has lost financially, Mina. The justice system has so much power, Martha. That's what just irritates the hell out of me when I hear Comey. The power we give the Department of Justice to take away your freedom, your reputation, your resources. And here we finally have a prosecutor who does the right thing. He's not waiting on the court to throw out the indictment. He says, I've looked at it and I've done it. And Jim Comey's learned absolutely nothing. You have a three-star general who was set up because of Comey's arrogance. And Comey feels not one bit of remorse over what, I mean, he wrecked the Clinton investigation. He botched it in the fall of 2016 when he released that letter. He botched the collusion. He was wrong about that, and now he's wrong about Michael Flynn. That doesn't even get to the Horowitz reports on him. And that guy is going to lecture us about who we need in the Department of Justice.
So I want to show you two more pieces of information, because now the transcripts from the House Judiciary Committee interviews, of which there were many, thousands of hours of interviews during the course of this Russia investigation. These are two quotes from the transcripts that come from James Clapper, the DNI at the time. So I'm going to pull both of them up on the screen back to back and read them to you, and then I want to get your thoughts on this. During James Clapper's interview, he said, I do think, though, that they thought and I believe he's referring to the Russians here. I do think, though, that they thought that president, now President Trump, would be easier to deal with. He is a businessman. He'd be more willing to negotiate and make deals. And then in another section of James Clapper's transcript, he goes on to say this. We're going to bring that one up in a second. But what do you think about that one?
Well, I know what he said in the second one, too. He had no evidence of collusion. I can tell you on the first one on Russia, it wasn't Donald Trump.
Here it is. I'm sorry. He says,
Yes,
one
ma'am.
second, Trey. He says, I never saw any direct empirical evidence that the Trump campaign or someone in it was plotting, conspiring with the Russians to meddle with the election. I don't know what else you need to see in an investigation when the director of our national intelligence says what's on this screen right now. Go ahead.
Yeah, I can tell you, I was in that room for a year with Swalwell and Schiff. It's the longest damn year of my life. Mm-hmm. Every witness will say the exact same thing. I ask every one of them, give me all the evidence of collusion, coordination, conspiracy you have with anybody in the Trump campaign, with anybody in Russia, and the answer was none. As for Russia and who they preferred, it wasn't Trump that gave them that awkward reset button. That was Hillary Clinton. It wasn't Trump who said, I'll have more flexibility in a second term. And it wasn't Trump. Remember when everybody laughed, Mitt Romney said Russia was our greatest threat, and Barack Obama said the 1970s wants his foreign policy back. And everybody thought that was really funny. So it wasn't the Republicans who were underplaying Russia.
What a ride. I mean, what a chapter. And so many lives disrupted along the way. But the shoe is on a very different foot as we continue to get all of this information out into the open. And I just urge everybody to just read it and take a look at it and see what it says to you when you do that. Trey Gowdy, always good to see you, sir. Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.